So I just watched an anime that was absolutely fantastic. It did so many things and did those things really well. It knew what made those things good, but ultimately I feel like it did them way too quickly. Because it did so many things and it knew what made them good, it did all those things, but it never let you sit with those things and make you sink in to the things that really resonate in the categories, trends, formats, whatever, of various things. For instance, isekai, power fantasy, shonen, economic development. All of these tropes were done pretty well. In fact, really well. They capitalized on the things that made them the most cool and interesting, at least for most people. But again, the pace to me was so fast. By the way, this video is entirely made for people who have already watched the show and are probably coming from our Should You Watch video series. Go check that out beforehand if you're curious, if you want a rundown of what the anime is about and how it gets led into the various cool factors of what the setup is. First things first, let's cover this right at the hop. This is an incredibly good show. It looks gorgeous. Its ideas that it talks about are different enough that it's still fun. It has a underlying, I wonder if it's going to get to this in season 2, but it has an underlying sinisterness that can be developed, but at least right now isn't. I feel like it's kind of like reincarnated as a slime, where it's the first couple seasons were very happy-go-lucky, and then eventually they got dark as hell in certain moments. Towards the end, as almost your audience matured over time, which was interesting and neat. Let's talk about this. How do you guys feel about the main character? Because I actually really like him. Like, if I think about my entire experience in the main character's kind of headspace, I like it a lot. It's very, very fun. He's like goofy, he's playful, he kind of is having fun with the world, he's not taking things too seriously, like that's all good. But then there's the way he handles himself in regards to being a leader that to me is frustrating. Where like he is basically pushed into this position of being a leader or a duke or a master, whatever you want to call it, and he just doesn't engage. He's basically like, okay, and then just goes about his business, and it's just like, my guy, come on. This is what I love about Rimuru, who's just like, you know what? Let's do this, and just started killing it. And so this guy's like, I just want to be an adventurer. I'm just like, why are we here then? Why are we pursuing this? This doesn't make any sense, it's just frustrating. Instead, one of his underlings kind of takes the helm, and it's funny because shows do this well. This kind of idea of like, okay, a servant is going to basically be the person that's going to manage all this, and you're just going to take credit. This is literally Overlord with Ainz. Basically, it's another isekai show, but anyways, it's basically a show with a servant character just dominates a whole like country and like political weirdness and just does great and sets the stage for his leader basically to be like, hey, and take credit for it, and you're brilliant, do it. This show does have that, but it just doesn't feel like it's done in a way that makes me feel like, yes, this makes sense, you know? It's especially when it's done by like this goofball shonen dragon awesome character. For what it's worth, one of the things that the show does amazing to kind of counter my negative take on the economic development of the show, one of the things that the show does amazingly is the characters. When they're developed, I genuinely love the dragon girl and the spider are developed. They have fun instances. They're both cruel but yet fun, curious and goofy. Like those are great. The one caveat there is when they're developed. Again, at the last couple episodes, we got that lich, which I thought, fuck yeah, let's go, a lich. I love it. It's not a very like developed thing besides Overlord, which is not even a lich. It's just like, yeah, I love the lich thing, but it's not developed in the slightest. He just appears and he's like, cool. So you can like teach me some magic. Nice. And then they're like, he's my right-hand man. And you're like, I feel like I missed a lot of steps. I feel like what happened? Also, when we get to the end, it's tricky because how do you guys feel about the part where things go darker for a minute? I don't know. I like it. I liked it. I should say I liked it. It was spice. It was some spice to our life. It was good within the story, but I felt like it didn't. The reason for him being so frustrated was powerful, impactful, and I think it's just a pacing issue. That's my only thing. Because I actually did, like I said, like the turn when he finally is recognized by, hey, idiot, you are literally the person who is responsible for this entire realm because your power is basically a conduit for it getting bigger. Also, people depend on you, look for you for advice, and need you. It's not an option anymore. It's not like you can be like, well, tough, it sucks to suck, and then you'll live your life. No, these people need you. So the fact that he keeps being like, I'm gonna go be a merchant or something, and then fucks off somewhere is frustrating. Especially when you're like, you need to make sure these people are okay. You need to like take the helm. Instead, he kind of is standing back like, I don't know what these followers are getting up to. Like, oh, my crazy dragon and spider person are saying all kinds of stuff without me. Whatever. Let them handle it. And I just get frustrated. It's like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Anyways, I care too much. I guess where I feel like I fall off when it comes to the part where at the very end it got dark, where he was finally, like I said, presented with his inaction. The fact that he was kind of like serious about everything, but the thing that was the most serious, which is these people depending on you and needing you, instead vying for the love of humans when you yourself would be hated by them. So instead of like taking care of his people, he's focused on like just having fun in this world in a weird way, or like developing himself in this economy instead of making sure his people are taken care of. Anyways, and his love for humans very much clouds his judgment, and ultimately one of his most favorite people, the little daughter or whatever, little sister kind of vibe girl, dies. The echo of his dragon person dies. Well, maybe. I don't think she's dead. They make a point to be like, their life force like wisps away or like dwindles. Maybe they are dead. Let me know, people who read the manga. It still remains that that the character had a very big response to this, almost as like, oh my god, I finally lost someone that I care about. I've been sitting pretty in this world for months and months of just kind of avoiding trauma and like death because I have these advantages, which again is a brilliant idea. Like, this is something that could be story driven wise excellently executed, and it kind of is, but the pace is fucked up. So what I mean by that is, think about this as a story. One of the constant things with an isekai shows is main character gets strong, absurdly strong, unjustifiably strong within a crazy amount of time, usually through a manipulation of information slash gift slash utility slash like something. But what happens, what's the cost of that, of growing too quickly and kind of basically feeling like you're untouchable is usually the cost. Ego, essentially. So what happened? What's a good way to normalize ego? Oh, you never had struggle or had to deal with death? Well, here's death on a silver platter because of your inaction. Because you thought you were so untouchable, here's a consequence of your actions, which could have entirely been avoided if you only were to not have it so good. If you were to maybe have like a close call every once in a while, then you would have been good. You would have maybe taken this more seriously, would have tried to prep more. And in a way, that's seemingly his takeaway. But they instead go with this, like, he's quiet, he's sinister, he goes like evil for a second, the whole world gets numb, and then he like meets this girl and like slices off her arms. And it makes sense. It almost makes me feel as a viewer like he's reconciling with the fact that he has this unjustified love for humanity, which in this world means nothing because this is not necessarily his humanity. And even if it is, humanity can be horrible. As far as he's concerned, the monsters have been like 110% great to him. The demi-humans, I should say, should have been great to him. But my problem is that very quickly after he has that sinister moment and he cries, he like locks up, he pushes everyone away, and then like this happens within 2 seconds, like maybe 10 minutes, not even that, like 5 minutes of the show. It's just like, he's quiet, he's isolated, and now he's getting kind of serious, but as a viewer, we're kind of like, what is he thinking? Does he think it's his fault? Does he think, yes, he does. Does he know what the problem was the fact that he is not taking this like development of this place seriously? No, because he's like, you know what? I spent 90% of my time like making an economic empire, a business essentially, instead of me like taking care of the people and like leading them and like giving them things to do that are incredibly important to do, and like giving them resources and getting other tribes that can be useful for your tribe. Instead of all that, he's like, I'm gonna go to school in a random human bullshit academy. That's what we're gonna do. And it's just like, okay, so nothing was learned. Everything is nonsense. The only thing that you maybe learned was like, oh, the people who are like the most protected, like my like dragon who's extraordinarily strong and my spider who's a god, all of them, we're gonna protect them. But my people, the people that literally need you, yeah, you're like, they'll figure it out. They'll figure it out. And it's just, that bit is frustrating. Again, I will say that's the one thing that to me is fun, because it has fun with the economic development about, like, he has memories that can be a catalog for how you can build things and build structures and like technology and any sort of schooling he ever had. The dragon's power can tap into his memory so that all of his people can basically learn from him and his world. Brilliant. That's really a cool way to sequence things. But it's not so cool when the main character is just like, he's not into it at all, or he's terrible at it. And he doesn't want to do it either. Like, it just makes no one want to be there. You know what I mean? Or at least Rimuru was like, no, this is important. I guess I should adjust and do some things to make this happen. But again, the main character in that moment, I like the fact that he could go dark. I like the fact that the main character, like, I wish we didn't even see a lot of the economic development, honestly, because it just seems disjointed. Like, it doesn't need to be involved. Like, if he was just like, hey, I'm going to like empower this orc tribe, and every single time I have a follower, I just chuck him in the tribe, and then we never see the progression of the tribe, and then like for 3 moments throughout the entire 12 episodes, we see like versions of him being like, holy fuck, they killed it. Well, how did they do that? Because they were able to build off of your memories. Awesome. Instead, they like twinkle it in there to where it just makes you frustrated with the fact that he's not taking things more seriously. It's almost like, be out and be an adventurer and funnel money into your like tribe, or be a fucking leader in your tribe. It just makes you feel like this guy's an asshole. He's taking everything for granted. These people need him, and he's shit in the bed. And yeah, and yeah. But he's a kid still. He's not perfect in any way, but I do like the character. I do want to see more of this character. I don't know if I like him more than Rimuru from Reincarnated Slime or Overlord, Ainzul Gold, whatever his name is. I know what it is. But yeah, the character is very, very good. Again, the spider character is adorable, is fantastic. I like that she is super invested in him. Again, it's like, whenever I look back at the show, I think it's done really, really well, but it's done too quickly. Like, you ever think about the fact, wouldn't it be cool if they slowed down and like really described or like went through the paces, or there was a moment in the story where the spider person, you really got to understand why she gave so much of a shit for him. Maybe it was more than just, I liked his blood. You know, maybe it's like, oh, I liked his blood at first, and that's why I made a contract, which is kind of a selfish, reason. But then, after like traversing the world, not as a spider, but as a human, and being able to see the beauty and landscapes and technological innovation, not people fight me all the time, that had me have this beauty and love for this person, because they were my gateway into it. They were the thing that makes me want to explore the world and not just consume it all. That would have been a beautiful thing, but it's not developed. It's just like, she loves him. She just loves him. It's it. She's gone. It doesn't matter. Go. And then eventually at the end, they're like, I kind of like just how we hang out, says the dragon girl. And I'm like, okay, could you develop that a little bit more? Instead, it just seems like it's like a knee slapping kind of a surface level stuff. I guess that's another way I could describe it, is it feels like there's a pacing issue with it being too quickly, like it's moving too quickly, or everything is surface level. Nothing is deep. And even when the show tries to go deep, when it's getting dark, quote unquote dark at the end there, it's so fast and you can't really absorb the fact that it is going deeper. Like, why is the character so traumatized? Why is the character willing to be this cruel in this moment? I had no idea he loved this character so much, because we didn't really get to see it. There were moments where like he meets the little daughter figure, Echo of the dragon, and she's like, hello, sir. You're the best. Just doing my best. Just doing a worker thing. Goodbye. And he's just like, thanks, bud. It's not like a, holy shit, when I was depressed, when this thing happened, this person cared for me. A quick scene of like the little girl wrapping bandages on him when he got hurt or something. Anything would like be like, oh shit, this person's important to me and I owe something to, instead of it being like, ugh. Anyways, I like this show a lot. I have a tendency to like be on a rhythm of like frustrated with certain aspects of it and trying to parse out why I didn't like it, to then be like, okay, this is what I would like better. And ultimately, I still love the show. I will watch season 2. I loved it. The things I did enjoy were the power, the magic, the fight scenes. Fight scenes to me are usually so, when done right, they're not noticeable. when done really well, they're really noticeable, i.e., what do you call it, Demon Slayer and stuff like that. But in this show, the fire and the magic, if I could have more of that, that'd be awesome. And I think that's what it works really well, actually. Because like we talked about, it's a surface level and pacing issue, but combat doesn't really have that, because combat is very surface level. It's like it's, if you have a cool idea within combat, you're good, i.e. putting on rings that basically limit your power. Nice. Unlike Overlord, every time you break off a ring, you basically have an atom bomb in your hand, and you can like use it to channel stuff and use it as a power source. Awesome. So it serves her more of just a purpose. Also, it's a cool utility source, so it's multiple things. But also just the idea that the main character is terrible at magic, or like, he doesn't know anything about magic, but he just has an abundance of power. So then he figures out, oh, if I just chain detonate a bunch of low-level magic spells, I can make like a Gatling gun fire turret that just annihilates someone in a path like mortars. And I can also do javelins, which are basically like missiles. And all that is extraordinarily satisfying and fun to watch. Oh, also, one thing that's one of my favorite moments in the entire show, this show, to take a pause, this show does a really good job about giving fun answers and answering questions that other shows don't tend to do any of that with. So it goes out of its way to be like, why is the main character abundantly strong? Well, gravity was stronger on Earth. I've heard this before in the Mars movie. You guys know what I'm talking about? So I've heard that. It's fun concept. It basically makes you super strong, crazy, all that stuff. He also given like a little burst of power from the moon guy. Love that. But the way they make him absolutely broken is to me equally as cool of an answer later in the show, where they basically, I know this because I read a book a long time ago called Winning in Mind by Lenny Bazin, and also if you've listened to anything, you probably have heard this too. Basically, Olympic rifle shooters and archers and whatnot, because the distance and the accuracy of what they do is so important and so fine, that they basically need to shoot between heartbeats, is what usually people say. Also, you need a crazy amount of stillness and calm, but you do need to shoot in between heartbeats. So the calmer you are, the more you have an opening between those heartbeats, and yeah. So they have fun with this, with one of the laws of this world that he is existing in, that's just like this fantasy RPG level up kind of world, is when you are put in danger, you get a power up. So when you're put in a life-threatening situation and you survive it, you get a stupid spike in power. So like near-death experiences, you succumb incredible odds because you're almost die, but you pull through, you live. Well, one of the funnest parts about this show that I love to bits is that they justify his stupid power spike within the show because he's shooting in between heartbeats. So he's basically slowing down his heart and shooting in between heartbeats to where he's basically dying. Or he's hiding his presence in such a way that the world, like mechanics or whatever you want to call it, are perceiving him to be having life and death situations constantly. I think he's just slowing down his heart rate, which the world perceives him as almost dying, and therefore the world itself gives him a power spike because he had a near-death experience. So he's just chain detonating this, and then everyone just like, oh my god, because you've been doing this, you're like at the level of like an atomic bomb of power, or a goddess level or god's level of strength. And to me, I thought that is so fun, of like an idea of like, yeah, archers. And I totally see the author being like, I like archery. This is something cool with an archery. How do I give my person a power spike? You slow down your heart enough, the world perceives it as a life or death situation, and you basically just profit. Who would have thought? Just within the system of rules of this weird world, like One Punch Man, if you have enough passion for something, you can become as strong as a god. Yeah, same thing in this one, a little bit more like weird, very weird. So there's plenty of cool ideas like that in the show, and that's something it does quite well. But my only takeaway, similar to the video that we just talked about, which was the should you watch video, is just the pacing. The pacing to me feels like there's something off there. Also, I wish it went deeper in moments. Again, there's moments that are interesting, like when he goes and saves the Duke, where it seemingly it's dark, where like the Duke who he saves the children or whatever, is actually very seemingly corrupt and evil, and like they're hinting at like, oh, eventually he's gonna wrong them, and some stuff's gonna happen. Also they do a really good job at seeding things for the future expansion for season 2 and whatnot, of like this demon realm, whatever, like roaring against the human culture, etc. I think he's gonna probably be the bridge that connects both of them. The only thing I'll quickly say for people who are still here towards this deep into the video, essentially one of the things that I looked into when I was looking into this is apparently season 2, this is gonna be season 2's light spoilers for how it's gonna momentum itself into the second season. So a little bit of a tease for season 2. Click off if you don't want to hear about that. If you just want a complete blank canvas. Apparently, in season 2, he is going to go into this academy that is kind of queued up for the next thing. He's going to go into this academy, and he is the same way that I think he took the like merchant test, and that's like a grade 2's math skill and writing and economic understanding. It's just super derpy because he comes from the human world. Maybe we're more advanced in that way. And yeah, he just kills it. In the same way, he accidentally takes a teacher's test, and basically becomes a teacher because his knowledge of like normal real world stuff, I believe, is above everybody else. I think I don't know how that really sequences. All I know is he basically in season 2, instead of going to school, being a student, he is instead a teacher who is teaching strategy to his pupils, and he is put in that position, which I think is interesting. Good misdirect, but also again, maybe it's wrong for me to want the show to be what I want, which is totally fair. Like yeah, the show is gonna be whatever the author wants it to be, but I really hope there's a moment where he gets his head out of his, you know what, and starts leading his people, rather than kind of being this kind of like, oh, I don't know, oh, what's happening? I kind of hate that, especially when he's good about so many other things, but when it comes to being that, he's just like, I'm just like, what is going on? You're like a killer in this way, and then you're just nonsense here. It's weird. Anyway, if you want to hear me ramble about a fantastic show, there's this one right here. Basically, it's called Trapped in a Dating Sim. Absolutely brilliant. Check out that video. It's more of me just sitting down. That one I do break down the premise more, but going forward, we'll probably do it like this, where this will be the part 2 to what Should You Watch is, which is basically a breakdown of the story and who it is for. And then this one will be me just gushing about how much I quite enjoyed the story. Thank you so much for your time. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and goodbye.